Well, game one between the Leafs and the Panthers is in the books, and it sure was an exciting one. We'll break that all down here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, your daily fix for all things Leafs. I'm your host, David Morassutti, and Mike DeStefano is unable to join us today, and I'm sure he is kicking himself for not being here today, but it is round two, so we bring in everybody for round two. So we got my good friend and friend of the show and key contributor candidate, Frank Stanisci, back once again, and some of you may have seen his face a couple times here on the show, but also joining us today is our good friend, Griff. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming. And gee, not a lot going on in that game, huh?
There might be a couple of things that may make it through today and tomorrow that might be talked about seriously. It was a game that it was a tale of two Maple Leaf teams in my opinion. There was the pre-Stolarz injury team, and then there was the post-Stolarz injury team.
Yeah, and for me, it was basically just pretty much a tale of 40 and 60, where it's just like 2/3 of the game, hey, the boys were clicking, they were looking really good, and then we'll let in a couple goals that you shouldn't allow, but then right as you're getting there, as Knies just brings the team to life, but then unfortunately, he who shall not be named brought it within one, but I have to say that last minute 50 of the third period, they really, it goes back to game 6-2. They really knew how to lock in and just secure a win.
Didn't it remind you a little bit, if you're a Leaf fan and if you watched the Winnipeg game, were you a little more concerned than you would have been 2 days earlier?
You know what? I don't like throwing people under the bus too often, but Chris Cuthbert brought that up. He's like, we did see something happen in Winnipeg, St. Louis. Looks pretty similar. I'm like, CC, what are you doing here, man? This is not. You don't throw that in there in a game one situation. It's only game one. I get it. You ain't throwing that in there. But yeah, what a turn of events. Yeah, really is. I do think that this was a situation where you look at this game, the Leafs first 40 minutes, clearly the better team. Yep. No way, shape, or form would I say Florida was the better team in those 40 minutes, even though and then you look at the third period and they score those 3 goals and you wonder, okay, did Florida just finally find things at the right time, or did the Leafs sit back a little bit too much with a 4-1 lead, thinking, hey, we got this, we're playing our game very well. 4-2 lead. Sorry. It was at 1-1. Sorry, 4-1. Yeah, 4-1. Then they score the 2 goals early. One thing I will say about that, though, is you take a 4-1 lead. Yes, they get 2 quick goals. And what does Craig Berube do? He gets that he calls a timeout. And it's a gutsy timeout to call because they're pulling it close, right? And you don't know how situations are going to change later in the game. But I do think that with that situation, that's where a coach like Craig Berube comes in, and he tells the group basically, refocus, guys, refresh, get yourselves back into it. And look, Florida kicked it to another gear in the third, but if Florida's gonna, and I think this is something that needs to be said because I know a lot of people are feeling anxious about what the Leafs have done, but they think that Florida turning it on for one period should make it all concerning. You can't also look past how they played in the first 40 minutes because they looked out of sorts too. So you got to kind of balance, I think, the reaction. I think because everything was fresh with that third period, with Anthony Stolarz leaving the game, there's a lot of that was fresh. But I don't think we can totally move past what the Leafs had done in those 40 minutes. They showed their form. It's just, it wasn't there in the third period. But that's what happens when a team is trailing and push, and they get a little bit of life early on.
I'm gonna punch that balloon a little. I'm going to put a pin in that balloon a little bit. I think that game was close because Matthews can't hit a net from the blue line that's empty. And he had a couple of other shots like that he couldn't. And I'm going to say, rather than be negative about Matthews and Marner and the core five thing that everybody talks about, I'm going to talk about the new guy. And the new guy is Matthew Knies. He is the best Maple Leaf in the playoffs outside of the goal. And they got to be thankful that kid has really proven to be a playoff performer. Again, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be negative with the core four, but that kid literally helped them win the series against Ottawa, and he ensured that this game was going to be a tough one for Florida to win.
Absolutely. That's the big thing. Like, he's in a contract year, but also too the fact that I know we got the dog a lot of Kyle Dubas's moves, bringing a lot of former Sioux Greyhounds, but that's the one true gem of a great parting gift that Kyle left behind in his Leafs tenure. I also look at Florida as a team that, look, they haven't played in 5 days. The Leafs played, I know it was a day earlier, but still, if you look at it, Florida had a surprisingly cakewalk series against Tampa Bay. And I think a big component for the rest of the series going forward for the Leafs, I know everyone's saying, oh, you got to match, they can't match Florida's physicality. I think mentally they have to stay calm. I think that's why Berube called that timeout after the third goal to basically say, guys, bring it in. We're going to be okay. That's all they have to say. Instead of panic, it's just, hey, weather the storm. We're going to be okay. Get one more, which thankfully they did get one more, because if they didn't, I think we'd still be watching hockey right now. But, it's just one of those things where, well, one of two things. One, we don't need any more 8 o'clock hockey. But the other one is just, I think it was a tale of two teams, but at the same time, too, it's a team that, hey, pay attention to what happened in the first 40 minutes, and this team can go far. Because even though he let in a couple weird ones, Joseph Woll looked really solid for his first little bit in the second period. Give him a full game, give him a full practice at warm-up, because we'll get into the injury stuff, but if I had to bet money on it, I think he's going to be the starter for game 2. And one other key point for tonight's game 2 is Florida's top guys were completely quiet tonight. Like, I know, obviously, look, Bennett had the one
third
goal,
period they brought it, but yeah, first 2 periods it was crickets. It was crickets from not until they were down, and they were like, okay, let's see what we can get away with, and we'll get into obviously that, and it's kind of combined with the Stolarz part. But
Barkov didn't look healthy. He took that one hit, and he looks like he might be still feeling a bit of the injury bug that he had previously. And I'd like to add one little quick thing.
From the Hagel hit, you're right.
Yes, I think the Leafs also, scouting is a very important part of what happens. Now, in this kind of situation, playoffs and stuff, you can watch the television and watch what's going on. I think it was very important that the Leafs, I think the organization, the management team said, hey, guys, don't get dragged into the crap after the whistle. Don't get dragged into the crap after the whistle. Because, gentlemen, I think Tampa Bay lost because they tried to match Florida with the stupid stuff.
They also got their power play completely. Just their power play was cooked against Florida as well. Tampa could not get a single thing going until that Gensel goal, I think, in game 5.
Yeah, that was the thing too. Yeah, the Leafs had opportunities on the power play, and it just wasn't happening for them. They went 0 for 5 on the night, which
I'm not a
recipe for success long term.
It's one of those things.
I'm not a power play expert, guys, but you could tell. Like, if we watch the playoffs and replay all the power plays the Leafs had at the beginning, they were making the play right away. What is it? They had 4 goals in 28 seconds at the beginning against, in the first series, and in this series, they're taking 2 minutes before they take their first shot. Just shoot the puck at the net. What have we learned in these playoffs? Just shoot the puck at the net.
Yeah, there was a picture of me going around our Discord chat with me beside the television. My goal of that was when they had a puck on their stick, I was going to yell shoot, as if I was right behind the players saying shoot. But we'll get into kind of the 3 stars of the game. We'll highlight some of the good things that happened. But yeah, the special teams, that's something the Leafs are going to have to figure out going forward, because you cannot let that be an 0 for 5 all series long. That there's opportunities, you got to take advantage of them. But the big play, the big story right now after the game, it's not the Leafs win, but it's what the Leafs lost, and that is Anthony Stolarz. He left the game We're hearing a few details coming out about it and some reactions, so we'll get to that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
An award-winning mattress can change your life. I speak from experience. It happened to me. After years of uncomfortable sleeps, I recently switched to Bear Mattress, and the results were instant. Bear Mattress is designed with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. I used to deal with night sweats, but Bear's best-in-class cooling ensures optimal temperature regulation, which prevents overheating and helps me stay comfortable all night long. Bear offers a wide variety of mattresses, but to get the right one for you, take their sleep quiz that matches you to your perfect mattress based on body type and sleep preferences. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Today's show is also brought to you by Farm to Fork. If you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meat delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news for you. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more, all with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meals are raised on Canadian farms, so when you order, you're supporting local farmers. It's time to buy Canadian. And look, with the long weekend coming up very soon, you're probably going to want some amazing steaks. Or maybe you just want some great chicken. That's why you got to go to Farm to Fork. And guess what? They're delivering all across Ontario and Western Quebec. And the best part, delivery is free with a minimum order of $199. You don't even have to leave the house to get this quality. And I've got a special code for you. Just use code LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farmtoforkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, deliciously local farm meat delivered straight to your door. I want to welcome you back to the Locked On Leafs podcast, David Morassutti. And with Mike not able to join us today, it is my good friend, Candid Frank, and also Griff. It's one of the few rare times I decided I need more than one. I want to get the crew together. The three of us has spent a lot of time together covering some CFL. I thought, what better way to get kind of the juices flowing than with a Leafs victory in Game 1 over the Florida Panthers to kick off round 2. A reversal of what we saw last year, because last year it was a loss in Game 1 last year. So maybe a little turn of the tide a little bit here. Maybe just to get that feeling, right away. Get that first victory crucial. But now it looks like maybe the rest of we don't know how things will go the rest of the years, but it is looking like Anthony Stolarz might not be free to go the rest of the series. We don't know how. Right now, all we know is he was taken out of the game, or he left the game after he was down for a few minutes after an elbow from Sam Bennett. There's no disputing the action from Sam Bennett that obviously then eventually led to Anthony Stolarz having a not so pleasant moment as he was at the bench. Hopefully guys got out of the way and he gave them an opportunity to say, pull and shoot here, and basically throwing up along the bench. Sorry if you're queasy, but don't paint too much of a picture on that. And then it looked like, I'll give Sportsnet a lot of credit. They were ready for this. They were watching the interaction between Stolarz and Woll. Woll looked like, okay, there's an opportunity here where I might have to come in. Initially, I'm sure Stolarz says, I'm going to try to gut it out. Let me see. Ain't much gutting out when your guts are literally being spilled out on the bench there. He was taken out of the game, and it's being reported from Craig Berube that Stolarz is being evaluated and that he was taken to hospital for further evaluation. Chris Johnson reported that he was actually taken out on a stretcher. I'm sure that was more of a precaution than anything, especially when you don't want to use the C word, but in a situation like this, a concussion is something you are very worried about. Gentlemen, first things first, obviously we hope that Stolarz is okay. Let's maybe not talk too much about his status going forward, because you never know with these situations. It could be good one day, it could be even worse the next day. But the play itself, just not a great play at all. And I'll tee it up what Paul Maurice had to say. He said that the ref was right there when Bennett hit Stolarz, so he does acknowledge that there was a hit. He then said he'll let the media light your hair on fire and league to do its thing, and he'll focus on coaching the next game. Sam Bennett was not made available to the media after the game. Shocker. And Craig Berube, clear as day, pretty much said it was a headshot, clear as day. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Let me start with this. What I saw was him drop his elbow to ensure that he made contact with the head. He dropped his elbow. Now, anybody who doesn't see that as intent is just sticking their head in the sand. Now, here's a prediction I have for you. There may be nothing here. There may be only a $5,000 fine. I joked with you guys, talked to you guys about a Reimer hit to the head by Giunta a few years ago. No penalty, no suspension. So it's not like the Leaf goaltenders have protection from the league. And I think Stolarz probably is going to ask, did the referees talk to each other? Because he had that deal with the referees. If they protect him, he'll be a good boy. And it didn't quite work out that way for him, did it? With the next referee.
Yeah, the big thing with this too is just the fact that it was probably the spotters that also pulled him, and the fact too that renowned concussion expert Chris Nowinski, who's really weighing in on this, is saying that when initially posted on the Anthony Stolarz video, I didn't know they initially let him in for more than 2 minutes until he started vomiting on the bench. PSA, if you vomit multiple times after a brain injury, get to the emergency room. So that's probably why he went to the hospital, because
absolutely
either the Leafs doctors, the neurologists, I don't know exactly. It's kind of hard to tell who's the concussion spotters, because, like, David in the NFL, how they're wearing the red hats on the sideline and that you can tell immediately where it's like they go to the tent. With the NHL, it's a little differently, so it's probably someone radioing down from the gondola up above. But for right now, look, I know playoff hockey, there's leniency to the rules, but it was kind of like him getting away with one. But if it's a fine, it's stomachable, but it's still not good enough. If there's no action taken, or not even like a hearing, or it's just, hey, sit out for game 2, what does this show to the rest of the league that, hey, when this guy's gotten away with stuff like this before and you're not going to do anything about it, just kind of lacks that player safety element that so many concussion people and so much of us worry about? Because at the end of the day, these still are humans that are going out there to battle for supremacy.
And sorry, Dave, but the fact that nothing happens is going to reflect badly on the referees.
Yep.
Because you have, in that play, you have 2 referees, one behind the net, right? And one, near the blue line, center ice, watching from there. To have missed something like that, if this puts Stolarz in the hospital, puts him in the hospital and keeps him in the hospital, watch the ruin cry, because the blindness of the National Hockey League in situations like this will be under the microscope.
Yeah, I think that's one thing right now is it was being discussed during the intermission. It's being discussed obviously after the game. And here, Matthew Knies, hopefully the league will handle it and take good care of it. So, I understand the plea for a player like Knies for the league to take care of it, but guess what? We've seen it far too often where it hasn't. But in against Florida, Aaron Ekblad got 2 games where he did Brandon Hagel, clear headshot, took him out of the game, and he got 2 games for it. So the precedent has almost in a way been set by the league to say, if the refs clearly obviously didn't do much there, now it's on to the league. The onus goes on to the league. We'll see if there's nothing being done about it. It's going to be a tough look for the NHL, that's for sure. And again, I just see this thing where the Panthers then after that point realize, okay, the refs aren't going to do too much about these things, because that wasn't the only thing that came out of that game. Now, there weren't any other injuries that did come out from this game, but there were a couple things that I did notice. I don't know if you guys caught it, but at the end of the game,
yep,
Matthew Tkachuk took, I think it was Marner, the good old accidental trip from behind where the guy's not expecting it.
And he
Stuff
slid
like
into
that drives me nuts because it does one of two things. I got people texting right now, is Ryan Reeves going to be in the next game? It ain't happening because the Leafs don't want to play that game. The Leafs want to play their game and hopefully let the NHL police the things that should be policed. And like that's the part there where, you know what, if Craig Berube truly does feel that liberties are being taken, I'm sure he would consider putting in a Ryan Reeves. I'm sure he would definitely consider it. But I don't want the Leafs to have to resort to that because the refs and the league aren't doing their jobs.
Let me ask you both a question, because this is the part that bothers me more than anything.
Yeah.
Is that I've seen in watching hockey, there have been management, general managers and such that have been very profoundly advocating protection for their players. You know, I look at Boston, I look at other teams, and I just wonder, the Leafs suffer from this kind of stuff. Is it because Leaf management doesn't take the National Hockey League to task and put them in the awkward position of having to say, no, we're not going to protect your players?
I think yes and no, but the two things I have to say about this is you just don't want to get to the point where, you know, the quote, don't let the inmates run the asylum. Like you don't want to get to that point where it's just becoming hockey's a violent sport. Yes, I've played it all my life. I still play it as a 30-plus-year-old adult. But you don't want to do stuff like that. And then the Ryan Reeves one, I don't know what the language is on the show, and I'm going to keep it PG. So FAFO is a thing I think you do by putting Ryan Reeves in the lineup. And you're also setting a clear precedence that it's open season, and you don't really want to do that. I think for years the Leafs lost the Bruins, not because they were the better team, but because the Leafs tried to play their game. And when you play the Panthers game, they're luring you into that trap to where, you know, hey, oh, we got them. That's why I say more than the Leafs playing physical through 7 games or 4 or 5 or 6, who knows how far the series is going to go, they mentally have to play a better game. You saw tonight that Tkachuk was trying to lure people in. They were just skating away. That's all you have to do. Keep a headstrong game, and the Leafs are going to go far, because if they can get past Florida, well, I'm not going to get that far ahead, but you know what I mean? If they can keep a strong head on their shoulders, it's only going to benefit them in the long run.
I think what you have to look at here is Max Domi got that dumb penalty at the start of the game. And everyone's like, how is that a penalty? I don't think it was too much of the cross check.
I saw your tweet, David. I agreed with it.
Well, after the whistle, he went in as, I think, the second guy. How many times have we heard the second guy always gets taken out in a situation like that? He went in and he went right after Marchand. That's the sort of thing that the Leafs have to be careful, because Florida is going to bait and they're going to lure them in. Yep. And look, I'm not saying you don't respond at all to something. If you have to defend yourself, but do it within reason. Do it within. Don't give the refs a reason to take you off the ice. I don't like the Leafs have to be careful with that, because Florida, they did take advantage of one of the power plays they did have in this game. They were 1 for 3. So you don't want Florida to get freebies either, because they're going to try to bait and draw them. So the Leafs were pretty good about that. They're going to have to really watch it now, especially I'm sure some of them are going to feel a certain way about Stolarz being taken out. Let's put a pin on this. We're going to go through some of our 3 stars of the game and maybe some final notes as we put the final touches on a Leafs Game 1 victory over the Florida Panthers as they start round 1 on the right foot. But obviously a lot of things to discuss. We'll do that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Check into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keeping you feeling fuller longer. I'm a big fan of the no-shell variety. It's a perfect snack to take whether you're at your desk, going out on the road, and you just want that quick protein boost. It's always a go-to for myself. But if you like the classic in-shell options, they do have those as well. And they got them in many great flavors as well. And it's just a satisfying snack to help fill those cravings. So get snackin and crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Welcome back to the Locked On Leafs podcast. David Morassutti here, joined with Griff and Frank. One of the few times we've gone with the trio. It's no longer the dynamic duo. It's the what do they call it? It's not the Fantastic Four. What do we call the
Tremendous trio?
Like the
the Tremendous Three, the Tremendous Trio. Obviously, the Leafs did pick up the victory, 5-4 over the Panthers here. So with every Leafs victory, it is time for the 3 stars of the game. Gentlemen, I will let you both pick your first star. Who is earning of the honor? Let's start with Griff.
Simple. He was great in Game 6. He was great again tonight. William Nylander, for not only scoring 2 goals, but just for the way and the fashion that he did, setting the pace 90 seconds into the game, getting another one very soon after. You know, he was also high flying the entire night as well. Like, you saw him, you felt his presence, you knew he was there. I really don't think I have to say anything else. If I had to get my first start of the night, it's number 88, the kid from Sweden, William Nylander, Willie Styles.
2 goals and an assist. I can't.
Yes, sir.
He did set the tone. So, Frank, are you in agreement with Griff?
2 goals and an assist. I agree completely. You know, the Leafs needed. It was what everybody knows. I mean, everybody's read the memo, right? They got to score first. They got to get ahead. They got to get a quick start. And Nylander did that for him. I think he did it, under a minute? I think that's good of a start. 30
seconds into the game. And as Griff said, wasn't fancy. Put the puck on net. Sergei Bobrovsky was brutal for that first 40 minutes. That was brutal. And it's good. Like, here's the thing. The Leafs saw that. The Leafs understood that Bobrovsky was not at his best, right? So they took advantage, threw things at the net. Good things happen when you just shoot the puck. William Nylander did that, and the second goal too. You're in the right goal spot. You're getting to the scoring areas. Now the first goal, don't expect really to score there very often. You're not going to score from the side of net very often, but it's the threat coming in with speed, and Nylander could have had 3-4 goals. Like let's be honest here. He was driving play quite a bit tonight. I thought that line was really good. I thought Pacioretty, that physicality, he really laid that hit on Barkov that, hey, we can dish it and take it too. That what it showed me. And then Tavares was always his normal self there. Second star of the game, gentlemen. Who we at?
Go ahead, Griff. You can go first.
I'm going to go. There's 2 guys I was pondering between, but it's because of the impact and it's because of what we've said about him so far. I'm going with the guy that I like to say very nice whenever he scores. I'd say it in a Borat accent, but I'm going to keep it professional. It's Matthew Knies. Look, same thing too. First line, 1 goal, 1 assist, just out there flying the entire night. And the fact that he had the official game winner. Just, hey, when Toronto needed a hero, Bobrovsky, that's the one thing too. In the third period, he was stopping everything on his glove side. You got it there. He was just, you can't see it, but just catching it. Knies read him perfectly, got the shot over the net, and banked home a second start of the night, in my opinion.
The key, we talked about why Nylander was the first star. He got the team started, which we knew which everyone knows they needed. What Knies did is what the hardest thing for Leafs teams over this drought in the playoffs has been: the lack of killer instinct. A goal like that is a killer. And Knies has proven, this is why I said from the beginning of the program, he is the best Leaf right now because he's getting the hardest goals to get. Not that Nylander's goals aren't hard, but when you're in the middle of the game and the game's on the line, the best players are the ones that make the big plays. And that was the big play. Goal and assist, second star.
Yeah, I mean, he was incredible. It's no longer core 4. It's the 5, the Fab 5.
Core 4 and core 5, and with the new guy. That's the way I look at it.
It wasn't even just that breakaway goal. He was making plays all game long. Seth Jones. That hit on Jones. Like, Seth Jones is not a small guy. He's a big guy. He figured out that, guess what? Matthew Knies is a big boy. He's a man. He's got that man strength. And I thought Matthews was going to bury that. It just seemed like that was where it was all setting up to be. He was the best, in my opinion, he was the best player on that line because he was everywhere. Final minute there, final minute of the game there, he was doing his best to make sure that was going to stay a 1-goal lead for the Leafs. And look, Marner and Matthews, I thought played well too, but obviously Matthew Knies felt like he put more of his emphasis, his stamp on this game.
He was incredible, and I think what makes him so good and what makes this team under their coach so good is that they played against a team that has the best record for coming out of pucks in the corners. And this guy on his own changed that statistic in reverse.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you did see at one point they did put up, I think it was after the second period, they were winning over 63% of the puck battles. Not something you see very often from this Leafs team. And I had brought it up that they got to find a way to win those puck battles. They weren't doing it last year. They are doing it this time around. Third star, I do want to go first because I want to make sure this guy gets his cookies. Morgan Rielly. This guy, I've been criticized for defending.
Oh.
This guy has taken his lickings, and deservedly so. He has had a very not great piss poor season. I'll call it piss poor season. It's not what we expect from Morgan Rielly. But when the Panthers got that goal, the first goal of the game from Seth, you're almost like, here we go. Morgan Rielly, boom. That's what you expect from Morgan Rielly. And he wasn't bad defensively either. We saw him play physical, but it's that ability to be a catalyst offensively. And eventually it rubbed off on Chris Tanev because he decided he wanted to get in on the goal scoring as well. He also passed. He is also now the leader among Leafs defensemen in goals in the postseason. Now, when they drafted, I'm sure they had expected that, but for it to come to fruition now, I think it's kind of an omen to what we expect from Rielly. Even when he's going through his struggles, he will find a way to break through.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to modify your decision. I agree and disagree with you. My agreement with you is that he should be a star. But
Okay.
I would like to point out and look at the Maple Leaf defense that has 7 goals so far in the playoffs, that have been outstanding in the playoffs so far. They've scored more goals in the playoffs than they did all year. Mm-hmm. And I believe Tanev and the defense that the Leafs have, I have a hard time picking the two of them because Tanev's goal was very important as well. So I'll expand it to say my third star will be the defense unit of the Toronto Maple Leafs that has played the kind of hockey that this team has not had in this generation of Leaf team.
Before I get into my third star, once that contract's signed, I'm going to buy a 23 jersey. But my third star is not Morgan Rielly, but it's someone David mentioned. Mine is Chris Tanev. I, honest to God, think he's been probably one of the better Leaf defensemen in this entire playoffs. I know the unit's been great, but he is someone, he's not afraid to get physical. He's not afraid to block shots. After last night, too, I'd love to see his brother come on that team. I'm pretty sure Brandon's a free agent after this year, so get his brother here too. But no, Chris Tanev getting his first of the playoffs. He's basically, look, I know a lot of people criticize the contract for the length that it's 6 years, and he's already, I believe, 32 or 33. But he's doing what he was brought in to do, and that's all you can ask. And the goal's a cherry on top. He also had an apple as well. You know what? That's one of those games. He's one of those like underrated stars that like rose to the occasion and said, "Hey, we need to get an extra goal." Because think about it, without his goal, who knows where we are right now? Who knows if the Leafs are down 1-0, or if they're playing in overtime, or if they win in overtime, and our blood pressure's like a couple ticks higher. So, third star of the game for me, Chris Tanev.
I'm glad you both agree with me.
Yeah, I think Chris Tanev, though, as you said, Griff, he deserves a lot of praise because he played, I think, I'm just taking a quick look here. He played the second most among defensemen tonight. Rielly was first. But, yeah, the Panthers got some chances, but actually the Leafs owned the scoring chances with Tanev on the ice.
Yeah.
He shut down defensemen. That's what we've come to expect from him. The Leafs also had the higher share of the expected goals with Tanev on the ice. Again, your shutdown defenseman. And pretty much even in the high danger chances. So, the third period skewed a lot in the Panthers' way too with the advanced stats. If you just even took the first 2 periods, Tanev was incredible. So, yeah, I think the defensemen all around, I think, played pretty well, except the third period. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of talk about things that they could do better with the Panthers pushing. So we'll discuss that as we go forward here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. I want to thank both Frank and Griff for stepping in here. It was a what a great way to start the second round with some nice fireworks. I'm sure the NHL was at least happy with a very competitive game. And we'll see the fallout from the Stolarz situation. If we are going to be talking about any potential supplementary discipline, we'll hold our breath on that one for now. And we'll hopefully have a little more of what his status is going forward. But make sure you guys all subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Go and make sure you follow our friends here on X. You can follow Griff at Mr. Griff B, and you can follow Frank at Candid Frank Live. You make sure also you follow Frank. Just search him on YouTube. You'll find him, all of his great content there. But make sure you go and subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on YouTube as well, as we continue to our push for 10,000 subscribers. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.